Welcome back to another Millennial in Debt video. If you are new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscription button below and turn on the notification bell so you get every single time I upload a video. If you're not new here, thank you for always riding with me and watching these videos when I post them. It means a lot. Hair getting a little. Someone in the comments in the last video told me to make sure I clean my ears and scratch my hair before I come on camera. Okay. Anyway, what we're going to be talking about are 6 things, so a checklist, so to speak, of things that you need to have in order for you to consider yourself to be financially literate or on the track to being financially literate. So in my last video or 2 videos ago, I spoke about why I regret purchasing my home, and that really hit home with a lot of you guys. And people were asking me so many questions, so I thought I'd compile this list and really talk about the things that you want to be aware of, or that you want to know about, or that you want to think about or check in with in order to really be in tune with your finances and be financially literate, or financially responsible at least. So the first thing that you definitely need to have or need to know knowledge about or need to have an understanding about is your net worth. Now, when I've been going back and forth with people talking about why I didn't really enjoy my purchase of my home, is because it did tank my net worth a bit. Well, I guess tank and a bit kind of cancel each other out, but it did decrease my net worth. So the first thing that you want to do if you're on a debt-free journey or you are on a journey to be more financially literate is to sit down and calculate your net worth. Now, how you do that is you add up all of the assets that you have, right? So anything that you outright own, any cash, anything that is yours and is valuable is an asset, right? And then so once you have that total grand number, then you're going to take away or subtract all of your liabilities. So that's any of your debts or things that you owe. Those are things that detract from your net worth. So when you have an idea of your net worth, you know how far you are from whatever goals you're trying to achieve, right? So my goal currently now at 31 years old is to have $1 million net worth. I'm about $900,000 away from that, but at least I know how much I am worth on paper, right? Because we're worth so much more, obviously. But on paper, my net worth is a specific number that I know and that I make certain decisions and do certain things in order to increase my net worth. And you cannot really be someone who's financially literate or financially responsible if you don't check in with your net worth consistently, at least once a month. I know people who do it daily, they got the right idea. I try to do it once a month. So I check in with my assets and I check in with my liabilities, and I have that number in my head, right? Until the next month. So know your net worth. The next thing that you want to check in with when you're trying to be financially responsible is you want to add up your debts, which is a definite part of checking your net worth. But I think a lot of times people just try to run from debt. We've all avoided Sally Mae at some point. But running away from your debt is not only going to decrease your net worth, but it's also going to mess up your credit score. So you definitely want to know all of the debts that you are responsible for, and that will help you to understand what your net worth is. So those 2 steps are definitely related. The third thing that people who are really financially responsible, financially literate always know is about their credit score. Now, I've done a few videos about credit and how it's important and different things that are calculated into your credit, but you don't only want to know your credit score. So yes, knowing the number is very important and it's very valuable to how you spend money, how you navigate your money, how you do all these other adult financial things, but you also need to know what's on your credit report, right? So knowing the credit score number, saying, okay, I have a 750, that's great. You need to know what got you that 750 and what's preventing you from getting to the 800 or the 830, right? So knowing that number is not enough. You definitely need to know, are there things on your credit report that don't belong on your credit report, right? Are there things that you've paid that are still there? Do you have to do certain steps or extra things in order to make sure that the credit score and the credit report that you've been working for is actually what's on paper, is actually what the government is seeing, is actually what other lenders are seeing. So definitely out of sight, out of mind is not something that's going to help you with the first 3 steps that I've mentioned so far. The next thing when you are trying to be financially literate, you want to have 3 accounts. Right? And these 3 accounts, I've spoken about them many times, and I'm going to speak about them again because it's really important. You want to have a savings account, right? A regular savings account. That can also be your emergency savings account, which is number 2. I prefer my emergency savings being in a high yield savings account because I like my money to work for me. I absolutely do not just need my dollars sitting in a bank, right? I want them working, I want them gaining capital gains, and I want to retire early. So you definitely want to have a regular savings account. You want to have an emergency savings account, preferably in a high yield savings bank. Yes, I'm aware that the high yield savings accounts right now are a wreck because of all of the things happening in our world, but it's still better than the regular savings account that's going to give you a few pennies. The only reason I even say open a regular savings account is because most of the high yield savings options are, digital accounts. And if you want to have some money in a savings account with a brick and mortar bank, that is something that you can think about. But if you don't care and you're like, you know what, I don't care, digital is fine, it works, then use just all digital banks, that's fine. And the last account you want to have is some sort of investment account. Right, so that can be Robinhood, that can be Acorns, that could be E-Trade. It could be anything that you want to use. I've spoken a bunch of times. You can click the link up here to look at different apps you can use for investing, but you definitely want to start, even if it's just little baby beginner steps, you definitely want to start looking into investing. And I'm going to tell you why when I get to the next step. So the next tip or step that's really important for being financially literate is understanding how the stock market works. Now, when I first started Millennial in Debt and when I first started being financially literate and financially responsible, I did not focus on the stock market at all. I did not focus on retirement accounts at all because my goal and my mission was to pay down my student loans, right? And that's why I mentioned the first steps first, because that's usually how our minds work, right? And once you've got your net worth in order, once you've got your debt in order, once you've got your savings accounts and your emergency savings accounts stocked and ready to go, you absolutely want to look into the inner workings of the stock market. And I'm not saying that you cannot become wealthy or be financially responsible or all these other great, terms that are being thrown around in the debt-free community, of course, but when you look at the people that are considered the financial gurus, like the Masters, the Dave Ramseys, and the Grant Cardones, and all these other people, they all talk about passive income, and they all talk about dividends and capital gains and stocks and things like that, and ETFs and mutual bonds. All these terms that they're throwing around, if you're not making yourself familiar, right, or understanding the basic concepts of what they've done with their understanding of the stock market in order to continue to gain capital gain on their money in order to continue to be millionaires and billionaires, then you're leaving money on the table, right? So you need to understand what a Roth IRA is. You need to understand what a 401k is. You need to understand what's going on with the stock market, what's going on with the NASDAQ and Dow Jones and the S&P 500. These are all things that sound like, oh my God, this is so scary. Stock market people lose money. Don't let your fear or your lack of understanding of the stock market prevent you from really gaining money that will work for you. And by the time you retire, you'll be in a much better place than if we just, saved all our money and paid down all our debts. So you want to make sure your money's working at all times. And the last and final financial tip to being financially literate is asking questions. Asking questions, it doesn't even need to be the right questions, right? Asking questions, doing research, reading books, expanding who you're speaking to, expanding who's providing this knowledge for you is going to put you in a much, much, much better place than if you keep your circle really small and you just listen to people on Instagram or you just listen to people here on YouTube. There's a wealth of knowledge in so many different spaces, and you want to keep yourself open to that, and you want to ask questions. You want to ask questions about the stock market. You want to ask questions about different banks and high yield savings and all these other things. You need to make sure that you don't let your fear of the things you don't know, it doesn't matter what age you are, 20, 30, 50 years old, wherever you are starting your financial journey, your financial literacy journey, ask questions. Make sure you are asking every single question that comes to mind, because this is your money, this is your future, right? You're trying to be the best financial version of yourself, so don't let the fear prevent you from really getting an understanding of how to use money as a tool. And that's it. That is all you need to know to be financially literate. That's all you really need to have at the forefront of your financial literacy journey, so it's not too overwhelming. And that's it. It's all you gotta do. Thank you for watching.